everyone for patiently listening. Yeah.
Thank you, Srijit. That was a very engaging presentation. And thank you to all the speakers. We now move on with the panel discussion. And today's panel discussion is particularly special as it features an all-women lineup. And each of these panelists is a leader in their respective field. I'm excited to introduce all these inspiring women to you, starting with Dimple Mittal, who is an associate director of technical documentation at Edifex. With over 20 years of experience, she has led documentation teams across both startups and large organizations. She excels in creating and managing help centers, designing seamless workflows, and applying agile practices to enhancing project outcomes. Her expertise includes developing comprehensive style guides, producing engaging audiovisual content, and optimizing processes to elevate the quality of technical documentation. You can feel free to connect with Dimple on LinkedIn to learn more about her journey in driving clarity and efficiency in documentation. The next we have on the panel is Mridula Menon. She is a senior manager of product knowledge enablement at Grey Orange. With over 15 years of experience across startups and corporates, Mridula has honed her expertise in product development, content creation, and business business intelligence within the SaaS domain. Leading a content team at Grey Orange, she works with SaaS applications, AI, robotics, and warehouse management systems. She is also a lean in circle leader, mentoring women to become future leaders. Feel free to connect with Mridula on LinkedIn to learn more about her journey in empowering teams and driving innovation. The next we have on the panel is Malathi Bondili. She is a technical documentation manager at Broadcom with over 20 years of experience across multiple domains, including mainframe, enterprise solutions, AI ops, security, and API management. Malathi is known for fostering a culture of continuous learning and growth. She has pioneered roles such as Agile Technical Writer and Information Architect at CA Technologies. Today, she leads a diverse team of 20 technical writers, a strong advocate for diversity and inclusion and work-life balance. Malathi is respected for her commitment to excellence and meaningful change. Feel free to connect with her on LinkedIn. We'll share the LinkedIn profiles with you on the chat soon. The next on the panel we have is Shanti Narayanan. Shanti Narayanan is an Associate Vice President at Temenos. With over 15 years of experience in technical writing, Shanti excels in establishing centers of excellence, leading large teams, and ensuring adherence to technical writing standards and processes. She collaborates closely with product management, engineering, and customer support to align documentation with product requirements and customer needs. Like mentioned, you can feel free to connect with Shanti Narayanan on LinkedIn to understand how she drives excellence across technology and technical writing teams and processes. Lastly, we have Sreelekha Ashok. She is a manager of content strategy and development at MasterCard. With over 16 years of experience across payments, business processes, business analytics, and data management and banking. Sreelekha is a seasoned technical writer specializing in user-friendly manuals, flowcharts, and videos to enhance user experience. As a leader, Sreelekha is dedicated to developing and managing a top-tier team of technical writers, ensuring they reach their full potential and excel in the industry. Feel free to connect with Sreelekha on LinkedIn to understand her impactful work on content strategy and development. A massive thank you to all the panelists for joining us today. And with that, I'll hand over to Punit to lead the panel discussion.
Great. Thank you, Suparna, so much for a nice introduction and handing over. So now let's get started with the panel discussions. First of all, welcome all the panelists. It's so nice to see you all, and it's like very much in-person meeting. So yes, we will have a lot of questions and we'll go ahead with that. But before that, let me just make some announcements for the participants. So first, now also thank you all participants for joining and sticking around. I think it's already more than 2 hours you guys are here. And so, but this panel discussion, I'm sure it's going to help all of you. So here is a summary of what we will be covering during this panel discussion. We are dividing this whole discussion into 3 segments, where first we will have a discussion with our speakers, we'll get to know their thoughts, and then after every segment, we will have a slot for Q&A from the audience. So in between, if you have questions, please feel free to mention it in the chat box and we can take it from there also. Overall, we are, what the topic. So we are going to cover the current scenario in hiring, challenges for strategic hiring and managers' role, then future trends and preparation for technical writers. And in the end, then we will have the conclusions. Okay. So this is what we have. So again, welcome Shanti, Dimple, Malathi, Sreelekha, and Mridula. So you can feel free to unmute yourself and we'll get started. So let's start with a very simple yes or no question. Okay, so where you can just give the answer, and in the interest of audience here, probably I can also put it as a poll question. Even they can answer this. So what do you think? I mean, it's open to all the panelists. So is technical writing a booming field with plenty of jobs?
Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Oh, we don't have any no. So that's great because we keep on listening in from many people that, okay, no, 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 we don't have jobs. But yeah, that's great to know and good for that assertion. Now to continue with that, so now we have a lot of jobs. We also see there are a lot of freshers coming in. Unlike before, we have a lot of freshers. These freshers can be trained freshers. These freshers can be from any other field who are good and they just want to get into the technical writing field. So, and then of course, we have a big pool of experienced technical writers at all levels. Hiring happens at all levels. Fair enough. Now, whether you are hiring for freshers or whether you are hiring for the experienced. So I would like all of you to help me with the answer. Now, in this scenario, when there is a big pool, how easy is it to hire? You can divide it into fresher and experienced one. So I can see Shanti's pick on top. So I will go ahead with Shanti.
Okay. So it basically, who I want to hire basically depends on what is my requirement and very practically, what is my budget. Okay, let's not mince words and get flowery with all these things. So what is my budget? I may have a requirement for a lead, but if my budget only supports a fresher, my best chances are to look for a prospective fresher who will come up with the right mindset, willing to scale up. That's the reality today. Okay. So that said, on one side, freshers today, they come up with a lot of openness. I've been to many campus recruitments. So where I see engineering graduates willing to take up writing. Of course, there is a bunch who didn't get selected at all and then choose technical writing. That's also there. But there are people who are willing to come in because they have a passion for writing. So hiring freshers gives a very nice perspective to the team because they come up with new ideas, they come up with new mindset, and then there is a bit of training that is needed. Hiring seniors is also a very required thing, which we often, when as hiring managers, we sometimes underestimate simply because of the financial needs. But I think a team needs, if you have a bigger team, it needs to be a fair mix of the freshers and the senior and the experienced people. So you don't lose the ability to mentor. You can't have a 7 fresher is to 1 lead scenario where it will be impossible to pay any individual attention or individual mentoring to the junior person. So if you have a even if you have a 15-member team, I think it needs to be a mix of the junior and senior in the right ratio.
Fair enough. Budget rules.
Budgets. Finally, budgets.
Yeah. Mridula. You want to add something? Your perspective?
Yes. So I totally concur with what Shanti said. The moment she said budget, the word budget, and I was so much in line with her, you know. So at Grey Orange, of late, we are getting into the trend of hiring not even freshers, but interns. So one thing that I have realized is that when we are hiring interns, we are also taking charge of their career. So it is not only about getting the work done, but also, architecting their career for them. So when you have, as a manager, when I have an onboarding plan, I am also coming up with an offboarding plan, because I know that the intern is going to be with me for X duration. So there will be a time when I have to offboard the intern, and at that time I have an offboarding plan also, so that I have identified their shortcomings, and I am also preparing them to take up bigger roles in bigger organizations. So the mentoring does not only happen at the beginning but also end of the cycle. So that is one thing about interns. But when we are talking about freshers, we are the onboarding plays a huge role when we are hiring freshers. So yes, we have hired somebody who has great aptitude and great willingness to learn, but we don't have a proper onboarding plan. It is going to fall flat on the face. So as hiring manager, it is very important to have a very strong onboarding plan there.
No, and at least I think with freshers, it's a very straight formula. Experienced people still come with some experience, but freshers have no experience. So how good they will be in your organization depends on how good you are on training them. So
Yes.
that's great point. Thank you. Sreelekha, your thoughts?
Yes, so definitely onboarding is very important, and even for the selection criteria that goes for freshers, because they don't have any practical experience, and we have just a basic set of, say, interview set of questions. Like for example, we need to check like they have good writing skills, grammatical skills. They have a little bit of idea about technical writing. So of course, like institutes like yours, like TWT, if they come somewhere from there, so we have a little bit more. We know that they have a little bit more understanding on the technical writing industry and the pattern. So recruitment, yes, at that point of time, it does get challenging, but yes, they need to have a learning attitude, because even once they are onboarded, and if they don't have that learning mindset, that's where they fail. And it really implies, because that's when they can move ahead in their career. So definitely, compared to experienced candidates who already have an understanding of, say, it could be in terms of domain, it could be in terms of tools, latest technologies, freshers do not have. So for them, it's very, very important that once they are being they are applying for companies, they need to do their homework well about understanding the domain, about looking at what are the latest technical writing scenarios that are going around.
That's actually a very nice point, and about freshers and their background. So not to share what people are asking in their interview questions, but like Srijit's session was there just now, before our this panel discussion. In some of the interview questions, the written question pattern has also changed. It's no more about the UI screen. People are asking, write about cloud. What is AWS cloud? Give us an article about it. So that mentality of, I think, writers also needs to change a bit. Malti, your take.
To add on to everything that's been discussed so far, I think I'll divide it into freshers, juniors, and then the experienced folks. So when hiring freshers or juniors, the focus obviously is more on potential, like what can they bring to the table, even if they lack extensive experience. If you have if you can invest in training programs to help the new hires develop the necessary skills, I think they'll flourish. So in investing in those areas, and then even evaluating their soft skills, how adaptable they are to learn about new technologies and the industries. So all this matters highly when you're hiring for freshers and juniors. In terms of experienced folks, it's actually a challenge, both a challenge and an opportunity, because coming to the challenges, there's high demand. Many companies want experienced technical writers, And I think the competition among the top talent is increasing all the time because they have specialized skills, they have domain specific knowledge, and they have experienced different scenarios in their experience so far. Another challenge is the salary expectations. Like Shanti said, budget definitely rules. So that is also a major criteria when hiring experienced folks. But if you look at the opportunities when you have hiring experienced folks, there is diverse talent pool. I think if you look at the technical writing pool we have now, we have the opportunity to select from them. If you want domain specific knowledge, there is availability. If you want specialized expertise, there are technical writers available for that. So depending on how much time you have in hand, how your current team is posed, what kind of product team you're hiring for, you can go for a person with the relevant track record, the same experience, and you have that capability to go and hire in those areas. So I think that's an amazing opportunity. But like I said, networking within the industry, when we conduct these interviews, obviously employee referrals are given high importance. So always network within the industry. And as a company, I think when you're going for the diverse talent, when you're going for specialized expertise, you need to work with the company to offer competitive compensation and benefits. I think those are very important points.
Certainly, quite a lot. And I think one point which I see very common is when you said the good talent, they are getting really good offers.
Yes.
So we see different kind of contradictory statements. There are some people who say that, okay, wherever I'm applying, I'm getting the job. And there are people, experienced folk, wherever I'm applying, I'm still struggling. We do see all these same. So probably there is a good point from Malti's, what she has shared for many people to take up. Thank you, Malti. And now we have Dimple, and Dimple, so basically she is in North, and that too in Chandigarh. And often I come across that challenges faced while hiring. So probably Dimple will have some other perspectives. Yeah, Dimple, your take, please.
Yeah, so I agree with all the leaders. So we also face a similar challenge. So first of all, like budget is always there, budget constraint is there. Then type of talent that we are getting for freshers or for seniors. So actually, the main challenge which we have faced so far is like suppose the business requirement says like we need technical expertise. So sometimes like people lack technical in writing field, so we really do not get that talent of technical writers bringing in programming capabilities or some advanced like computing capabilities that allow us to automate documentation. So I really face challenge hiring people in that area. And another thing is like in my team, what I have done, like I have created separate training plan for freshers as well as for the senior writers. And we actually put together different knowledge sharing sessions as well. Like suppose somebody is trained in certain area or they have gained expertise in certain area. So we try to actually share across the team that knowledge so that everybody can come up with the same information and they can grasp that knowledge and take an advantage out of it. So definitely people have to upskill, and hiring challenges are always there. But if somebody is bringing in very good capabilities, then definitely there's no limit.
Very true. And of course, it all boils down to skill set at all levels. And we all see that, especially like if you are in networking groups, not only Tech Writers Tribe group, but there are many networking groups, and more so LinkedIn. So you all will see that there are a lot of opportunities, and if you have the right skill, probably it's not so difficult to get into a good job. Now, Dimple mentioned about technical expertise. So I had a question to be asked later, but I will just ask it right now to all of you. When hiring, how do you balance this need? Yes, you need technical expertise, but at the same time, we all know generally technical writers are not developers, or generally they are not from engineering background. They are generally known for, or they are expected to have good written writing proficiency. So how do you handle while selecting this technical expertise versus hiring? So Dimple, I think you can go ahead and elaborate a bit.
Right. So ideally, a technical writer should have a grasp of both, a strong writing capabilities as well as technical expertise. However, in practice, at times it depends upon how we prioritize based on the specific needs of a role, right? Suppose there are roles that require deep technical understanding, right? And then we prioritize technical skills and, we see, okay, if there's little bit lack in writing, then we formulate our training plan accordingly. However, conversely, if there are roles that require where the primary focus is only on documentation, so we just look for very good technical writers who have good writing skills, and then we expect them to bring in technical expertise on the job. They can develop those skills during while working on those technologies. So that's how I formulate.
Right. Yeah. So completely depends upon the kind of domain probably you're working, and that defines. So yeah, Shanti, Malathi, Mridula, Sreelekha, you would like to highlight anything?
I can go next.
Yeah.
Balancing technical expertise and writing proficiency is very crucial when you're hiring technical writers. A very general rule would be to find a great balance of a candidate who has these two. That candidate would fit into any product, and if they have the adaptability, they'll be able to adapt. So that is like a very ideal situation. But coming back to reality, it depends on the role that you have open for the position that you're hiring. So when you're hiring, I define the role very clearly as to, am I looking for a more technical proficiency or more of a writing experience? And even when assessing the candidate, be it the writing test or technical test, it always depends on what I'm looking for and what the candidate can offer. So sometimes if you're writing for, suppose, API documentation, you need someone with that background or someone who can easily understand that. They at least have the technical expertise to document it very clearly. Versus if I'm, going ahead for a SaaS product, which has a very good, very intuitive product UI, I need somebody who can capture the user scenarios very clearly. So I would lean to more towards the writing experience, and their writing, assessments would carry on. And depending on how you, try to hire for these roles, always also look for transferable skills like problem solving skills. Attention to detail, and these irrespective of which product you're working at, what experience you're at, these are like the basics. So always look for these skills and the potential for growth as well. So in how much ever experience they bring in, once they are within the team, the onboarding process, like how you get them ready for that particular product and that particular team, also adds a lot of value. When you do all this, it makes it easier for the writer to fit into that particular role and flourish in that particular. So it's a win for the writer, win for the company and the manager as well.
That's a wonderful way of segregating roles. I mean, having very clear-cut roles so that based on that we can take the, the interviews can be scheduled accordingly. So, and of course, in companies you need all kind of talents. Great point. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Shanti, Mridula, Sreelekha, you want to add something on this?
I think I pretty much agree with what Malathi says. It purely depends on the type of requirement for which we are looking for a candidate. If you're looking for, if you're looking for a slightly senior resource who has to deliver something probably in the next 1 year or something like that, we did a migration exercise. I mean, we're undergoing a migration exercise for which we recruited last year. So we wanted it to be done in a jiffy. I mean, not jiffy, but probably in 1.5 years, which is basically a jiffy considering their history. So in that case, I would go for someone who already has the expertise that I'm looking for. I went for a madcap Flare person who had the proficiency already, who's very comfortable with Flare, because I don't have the time to reinvent the wheel. I don't have the time to train and onboard him. So unless that is the case, then I would go looking for that kind of a requirement. Similarly, if I have an opening that is specifically to do with APIs or things like that, then I would look for some basic expertise. But even in that case, it purely depends on the emergency of my situation. If I have time to train and onboard a person, I would more gladly be willing to look at a broader criteria. If I don't have, then I would take like this. Otherwise, I think the basic criteria is like the willingness to learn, willingness to adapt, look into details. With this, you can pretty much scale up. Everything else comes with learning and with the right onboarding plan.
Punit, because I work with a startup, and most of the startups have a very chaotic environment. It is not like it is always in a like change is the only constant in scenarios like ours. So for me, when I hire a candidate, apart from the basic aptitude and attitude and all of that, I also need to understand how much tenacity they have, you know, because at times we have to handle multiple projects at the same time. So I need to understand that what is their definition of multitasking, what is the how how they prioritize, right? Do they have that skills to basic and simple prioritization of tasks? Do they feel intimidated when there is a sudden requirement that is coming up? So these things are very, very important when I am recruiting for my team.
Very true. And talking about my personal experience, I had the opportunity to work in a bigger organization like with Malathi at CA Technologies. And then I had the opportunity to work in startups. So I was leading the team. My team used to handle 40 to 50 minimum Jira tickets in one release. In bigger organization, how many tickets do we have? So there is a big gap because of that. And so, of course, there is a lot of such requirements also.
Yeah.
Sreelekha, you
Yeah.
want to add something?
So
Yeah.
Yeah. So just wanted to add, like, for example, now, like in MasterCard, we have, various departments, various products that have, writing tasks and also, and most of the time when we have writers, like requirement for that, we see a lot of, say, developer folks applying for the, writer's role and as such. So at that point of time, yes, of course, they do not have technical writing knowledge and everything, but based on their expertise on the skill set, or probably even in terms of writing whatever is there, so it really helps in getting to have that kind of team people also, added on. So wherein we have a diversified skill set of people, wherein it's just not core writing, but they also have development experience. So there are a lot of projects that are coming up like this, for which the management is also now looking into these areas.
Yep. So that's great thoughts from all of you, different kind of, I think, suggestions for the community. And one point, what Shanti mentioned about one tool, Madcap Flare tool. So this is one thing many people keep on asking in our groups. Many times this discussion happens. If there is a JD which says, say, Madcap Flare is mandatory or any tool is mandatory, and people always come up with this, why does it have to be mandatory? We can go and learn there, what's the big deal about it? And people always keep discussing. Now I hope they get the answer. Why is it mandatory? And other aspect is, it's not necessary that all the jobs will be suitable for one candidate, right? Every candidate will have his or her own expertise. And thankfully, we have a lot of jobs, depending upon, like all of you have already mentioned, different kind of expertise. So great. So thank you. I think that's very helpful. And here, I think before asking you, I will just run a poll, basically, because primarily, I also want to get this answer from the technical writers here. And then I'll come on the same to you, so all. But this here, you will have to answer from technical writers' perspective, not from hiring managers' perspective. Like, which of these is the biggest challenge for technical writers to grow or get hired in your experience while dealing with them? There are some people say there are not enough opportunities, but I think that we already answered in the first one. Everyone agrees that we have enough opportunities. Now, from a technical writer's perspective, is it lesser or no knowledge of coding? People don't have. Some of you have already touched that. AI. Everybody says AI is reducing the number of vacancies, but is it? Then automation, or else the most basic stuff, even with experienced technical writers, not having good control over the basic skills of technical writing. So, okay, let people vote. And in the meanwhile, I'm open to all of you. Any points you would like to highlight here?
I would like to go on this. I think beyond all these things, the challenge that people are facing is their inability to come out of their own definitions of what their job role is. They kind of confine, whether it's a fresher or an experience, once you confine yourself to think that this is what I should be doing, Even if there are million opportunities within the same team, you will turn a blind eye to that. For example, in my team, I have technical writing. Then we have done a lot of automation to automate a lot of process. We have an automated CI/CD process. Then, we have UI designers. We have 1 or 2 UI designers who do UI design. And we have things going in cloud, analytics, and all those things. Now, how many of them are willing to even spend time with each of these? I mean, it's not like all the resources are within my team. Sometimes we also reach out to other teams to understand how things happen. Now, how many of them are willing to come and sit and learn how each of these processes work? I have probably 50 or 60 technical writers happening across, around the globe. In this 50, I don't even think probably 10% know how my CI/CD processes work, because they fundamentally believe that my job is to write the document and send it to somebody else. They will take care of the publishing. So it is not opportunity, it is not AI, it is not skills, it's not any of this. It's just the right attitude to be open and be a little bit more inquisitive about what else is happening around other than what I'm doing. There's a lot of other things happening around what I'm doing. What else happens after I'm done with my writing? That will take you far ahead than, sitting and limiting yourself about or wondering about what else. A little bit of out of box thinking. That's what I usually call it.
Yeah, Punit, I'd like to just add a point to what Shanti has already said, is that what I have observed is that people totally underrate thinking skills. And a writer definitely need to hone those skills, because only then you will be able to analyze and understand how to interview the SME, what extra you can add, what you can bring to the table. If you just focus on, okay, I have been asked to write on this topic, I'll write on this topic in perfect grammatical English, and then I'll submit it for publishing or for review. So that's when the growth stops. Consistently the writer has to keep on thinking what extra they can bring to the table, how they can build a rapport with the stakeholders. Suddenly, if they go and approach a stakeholder, they are not going to answer the question. The rapport building has to happen before that stage of asking questions, getting to the interviewing point. So that is very important for writers, that they have to see beyond the horizon. They need to see beyond the horizon of just sitting and writing.
Say more hellos.
Yeah, I also believe writers should be more open and come back to the management and come up with the challenges and if they are facing any on this, because out here also is the limitation we've seen, like most of the times when writers are not open exactly on what are the challenges that they're facing. Maybe it is from the product, or it is from say the number of issues they're handling, all that too.
Or even if they are overwhelmed. If they feel that they're not being able to handle something, just talk it out. Nobody is going to put you into the guillotine for asking those things. Very great point.
Here I will like to just add one personal experience before others say. Writers who don't come up with what challenges they are facing. At times, I have faced one such writer, very hardworking, but she had this, I will solve it at any cost. I don't want to bother my manager. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was the manager there. I don't want to bother my manager. She tried her best. She didn't do anything wrong, but ultimately the release date came and the solution didn't happen. On the last day in the morning, she comes, I tried this. So I don't know what to call her. I mean, so probably people need to be aware that, okay, there is a timeline to struggle and all trials.
Yes.
Sometimes I think at that point, it's these mistakes have to happen. It may cost the manager quite dearly, but I think 1 or 2 times you need to let it happen for people to learn a pricey lesson, and then the whole team learns from that experience. No matter how much you keep talking about open communication, reach out to me before, it doesn't work that way. Sometimes this mistake has to happen, and then everybody will learn from that.
Very true.
It will be pricey, but I think that's where the job of
Yeah.
the manager. You are used to getting messed up, so I think it's okay.
Great
But
points.
in
Any
in
other thoughts? Yeah.
conclusion, there are two things, like growing is a different thing and getting hired is there are different, aspects to that. So getting hired is a different conversation. We can get into that, but on the growing part, I see a lot of tech writers in conversations saying, how do I grow in my career? That is a very commonly asked question. So on that, I would like to add 2 points. One is staying up to date as to what is happening in the industry, because writing documentation, understanding the product, writing documentation, handing it over, that's the basic. But that is not, that will not let you grow in your organization or in your career. You need to stay up to date with the rapid pace of change that we have these days. There are new technologies all the time. The products are improving, they are adapting new technologies. The writers need to understand at least the basics of a new technology. So when you are trying to get hired, people come into interviews, they know about the company and everything, but do a little bit of digging as to what the documentation team there is, what kind of products they are doing, what kind of technologies they are into. So that one question is often left unanswered as to when I ask folks, like, why do you choose this company, to join? Like, what is the criteria? So that is one part. And on to the growth, the other part is people need to understand how much value they are adding. This also ties up to the question wherein people say technical writers are not respected as much, or they are not given as much value as in the team as a developer would be. It all boils down to what value are you adding to your team, to your company. That will anyways lead you to your own growth path. The moment you start adding value is not documenting the product. Get involved with the product team. Look at the product that they're building. Is there anything that you can add? Folks on my team get involved in user experience. They review UI. They help the team build a better product. They work with the support folks to understand the customer issues and then try to solve them at least for the next release. Where are the customers struggling? What can I as a writer do? If it is a very complicated feature and documentation maybe is not enough, should I go ahead and make a video on that? Maybe visually, if you present that, it'll be more. So that is the value add that you do. And you do this on a regular basis. Your team will reach out to you saying, we have this going on. I want you to get involved because you add a lot of value to this. So it is not just writing, but look into other areas. Everybody has different skills. Hone on to them, specialize in that. Pick any specific area which you are passionate about and build on that. That is how you can add value. You can always work with the manager saying, this is what I have, but I don't know how to go about it. Have that conversation and they'll definitely help you build a plan for that. So just work with the seniors in your team, with your manager, and grow. So these are two aspects I thought I'll just share, both the stuff.
Right. And Malathi, that you brought a great point. And when people come to me with their resume, Malathi, that this is exactly what I tell them, that don't say that I did this, I did that. You have to say that how you brought a difference to the table, how you have contributed. Highlight that in your resume. That will take you further.
Exactly. True.
And Punit, one thing I want to mention, actually, writers should earn their own respect, right? So suppose if we have put in a lot of value in our products, right? Documentation is there. Sometimes like people come with barriers, is like, team is not responding. They are not giving us respect and all. So I always tell my team, you have to earn respect. If somebody is not valuing, change the strategy, right? There is no harm in changing the strategy. And come up to the management, come to me and tell me where there are gaps, right? Maybe I can contribute, I can help you with that. So, I mean, adaptability as well as coming up with, learning practices. And if they are, if you are good at something which is not, maybe management is not aware of. So bring that skill set to the table. So I really want to encourage everybody in this forum. So just to be, have trust in yourself. You are doing a wonderful job. Please have faith, and you are already bringing a lot of value and you deserve that respect.
Very well
I just
said.
want to quickly add to what Dimple said. When we talk about this gap of reaching out to the management, I think somewhere their process also helps. Like if you can outline what are the use cases, what is the point until when you need to try, and what is the point when you start escalating. If you have a hierarchy within the team, or even if you're a sole manager, I think eventually there is going to be a learning process for the management, and there is going to be a learning process for the technical writer also. So you need to sit with your team and understand their borders till when they are capable of handling. And if you set in a process that you do these basic validations, and if these are not working for you, reach out to your lead or reach out to your whoever is next in line to you, and you do this, and this is the date till you try handling. If you can't, you reach out to me. So if you can bring in a process driven system, I think that works. And personally, it has benefited me to have these kind of checks and guidelines in places to say these are the basic checklists you defer, this is the process. If this doesn't work out, you reach out to your lead. This is how the leads take it forward. This is not working out for you, you look me in. So I think that synergy, that's something we developed over a point of time. We understood where we failed, we understood where we missed and things. We developed that checklist, and most likely that kind of bridges the gap with respect to the product delivery, at least the documentation delivery, at least.
So a lot of points. Yep. Thank you so much to all of you. A lot of points came out of our segment one. So, but yeah, primarily, yes, jobs are available, but yes, skills should be accordingly. You should be open to the changing technology also. And this I can just add that earlier, I don't know the timeline, but earlier we used to think that developers have to learn every second day because some new technology comes. Technical writers were not used to this term, but nowadays we also need to learn and learn because so many new things are happening. Actually, in that way, I consider technical writing a very exciting field now. So, yep. So a lot of things, people, and I hope all this helps. We will take some questions here, as we said, after segment one. So I see Archana's question has already been answered there by Mridula. Shrutika has a question. What would an ideal onboarding and offboarding plan for tech writers cover? Any of you would like to take?
So as I brought in that point of offboarding, let me say that offboarding is very crucial, especially for interns. So in the offboarding, first of all, some of the things I cover, one is how to write a good resume. I help with that. How to do time management, how to do project management. I literally sit with them and train them on that. So these are a part of the offboarding for interns. Now, for existing team members, I list out some topics and I ask them, would you like some sessions on these before your last day? And whichever they opt for, I hold it for them. That is how I do the offboarding.
Okay, great. Any other thoughts, anyone? Or else we'll just move on. And Shrutika, I hope that helps. Okay, so.
Yes, it does. Punit. Thank you so much, Mridula.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have some other questions, but I don't think. So Pushparaj, yes, as I mentioned, notice period, of course,
I
it's
saw
not a separate thing. Yes.
Punit, I saw a question on age. So if any organization is mentioning age, please don't join that organization because that is the first sign of bias. Ageism, if you see ageism as a factor in the JD or interview process, do not join that organization. There are more miseries in the pipeline.
And
That's a red flag right out there,
Yes.
pointing you not to.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
completely agree.
one point I will like to add on the name of diversity. And although I'm speaking to 5 ladies here, so please don't bash me up. Some people come to me saying we need female candidates. I ask, what's the reason? We want diversity. Okay, fair enough. Then the second question is how many technical writers you already have? Okay, small team, 3, 4. What are they? Females. So where is diversity? So I don't know whether I should say it's a red flag or not, but at least I don't like that. I call it discrimination.
It is.
I don't know why any of these even matter when it comes to technical writing.
Exactly.
Honestly. Just getting the right candidate with the right budget is a struggle enough. And then you want to add all these complexities. I can't imagine how much of time and privilege that person must be having.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've rarely seen job descriptions asking for, like, say, particular age and or say, particular gender. So it's very rare though.
Yeah, unless somebody's age is like 50 plus, because you are almost on the close of like retiring. And at that time, if you want a fresher's job, then yeah, probably. But otherwise, no challenge.
We have people who are 50 plus who've joined in our organization and they're doing pretty well. So
Yeah.
I think they are great examples that, age is
You
not a
see.
factor.
Wonderful. Okay, so I think Priyanka, you wanted to ask some question. I don't see it in the chat box. You can ask it quickly. Priyanka, are you there? Okay. My question is, Priyanka's question is how to switch a domain if someone wants to diversify in terms of domain. So basically, overall question is, as technical writers, we work in different domains. But during interview questions, interviewers generally ask if you have experience in security or cloud or many other domains. So her question is how to switch a domain if someone wants to diversify in terms of domain.
Punit, I want to. Okay, go ahead, please.
You'll need to upskill in those areas, Punit. Like if you are looking into getting into from a different domain, say into a security domain, the easiest way to go ahead and learn the basics of it, like in security, like basics could be like what is an encryption, what is a certificate, so things like that. So those things, once you understand them, the different way of authentications, how they work, once you understand these basics, understanding products in those areas is just the next step, which will get much easier. So when you're going for interviews, or even when you're in a job, you are looking at changing domains, maybe want to get into a different product, start with upskilling your own knowledge areas, and then, like I said, work with your folks in the team, mark a plan, and then you can build a process wherein either within the company you can change products and get into a different product or something like that, or even when you're looking out, it will definitely help. So upskilling is definitely needed there.
Right.
Go ahead, Dimple. I'm done.
Okay, so just wanted to add to the previous conversation. So it's actually, it does not matter. I mean, when we hire as well, like we have seen people coming from different industries, right? I mean, if I talk about Edifex is a healthcare domain. However, I have worked in insurance, semiconductors, other domains as well. It practically does not matter. Only thing is like when you join an organization, you carve out your training plan, right? Your learning plan. So at that time, you can gain that knowledge. You can, switch your domain easily if you are willing. So it does not matter when you are actually applying for any organization. If you have the basic skill set, then you can definitely learn on the job. There's always a university program that every organization holds. You can easily take all those courses and upskill yourself.
Wonderful. Okay, so
in the interview, it's your the way, like, you answer your question. That's also very important. Like if you've applied for a position which has a demand for a particular domain knowledge, so the way you answer that question, the way you validate it, that's more important.
Communication. We are technical communicators. So that communication should play a big role in talking also and writing also, both ways. So that's the end of segment 1. Thank you, people, for asking questions, and thank you, speakers, for giving such great answers. Now we move to segment 2. Now segment 2 is about opportunities in strategic hiring. So I would like one of you at least just to define, what do you call strategic hiring, for the sake of audience in case they are confused? What is a strategic hiring?
So Punit, for me, strategic hiring is, again, going back to if I have an open position in my team, looking at what is the requirement for that, what kind of a candidate should I choose, how is the balance in the team currently? If there are multiple writers in the team, if I already have experienced writers, should I bring in, a little different perspective there by hiring somebody who has less experience, and maybe they have a different perspective, they have different education background or things like that. So it all depends on what kind of opening we have for the position that we are hiring, and based on that is how you go for evaluation. I think that is how it usually should start.
All right. So probably just to add, I have one of those questions under strategic hiring. It syncs up with that. How can technical writing teams contribute to an organization's strategic goals? And how does hiring play into this? So probably when you're talking about a strategic hiring, first you talk from documentation requirement, but in general, what is documentation requirement? It is about company only. So that syncs up with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope, and anyway, the kind of discussions that we have been having, probably people who are listening, you may be all aware now that we are not just talking about those trends probably 5 years before, the general kind of technical writing interviews that used to happen. It has changed a lot. So now my question to all of you again, how can this strategic hiring influence the evolution of technical writing as a discipline? So in general, where we were and now where we are and in the future. So
I'll continue, Punit. How we were earlier was, if we had the basic skills of understanding technical concepts, the ability to break down that into normal information, and you had good writing skills, the job was done. Basically, that is how it was done earlier. And that is the basic skills for a technical writer anyways. But as we moved along in the last decade or two, things have drastically changed, but it has not changed overnight. There has been a linear growth in this. So now in hiring, what I see is, as much as the company or the manager is evaluating the candidate is also evaluating the company they are joining, the manager probably that they are interacting with, or the hiring team that they are interacting with. What is it that they are seeking out of me? And how is it going to bind to what I might have, as an experience in the company? So this whole concept of, earlier it was like, the whole concept was, I should just get hired. It doesn't matter which company it was. Will I be a good fit into the company? What the company culture was? Nothing mattered. It was just, let's just get hired. But right now, every company has a different culture that they inculcate in, and they follow. So when you're hiring, from the manager's perspective, I want to get the right fit into the company. I know my company culture. Will the candidate that I'm hiring, with all the things that we have already discussed, with the skills and everything, will that candidate be a good fit for my team, for my company, and in fact, even the product team that I'm going to put somebody? So a very basic example would be maybe something like, if the product team is a very organized team, and I bring in a person who is like very impulsive, it might not, the candidate might be great, but it's a very bad fit for the team. So I need to bring in someone who is also very organized. So if you bring in that kind of a fit, it works and there won't be any hiccups and all that. So finding that right fit, not just for your team, but even company culture wise and everything, is very, very important. Because if you get this wrong at the beginning, you will hire somebody, they'll be there for maybe 2 or 3 years. Things start falling apart after that. Some things don't sync up. Like the today's generation says, I just didn't vibe with that company or that team, and they start looking out. So if you get this part into your hiring thing, I think you will ensure that there is a long-term career for the writer as well as for the company as well.
I want to give it probably a different take from the other side. Look at strategic hiring from the company's perspective. Okay. Why will a company be willing to invest in a technical writer over a developer or over a cloud architect or over a deployment or over a sales, marketing, whatever? Why is a company investing in a technical writer? So what is it that the technical writer can offer towards understanding the company's goals and the company's positions? So this basically translates into a couple of characteristics, which includes flexibility, patience, sustenance, bare minimum. Okay. Now, I may be doing very well on a product on which I would have, deployed you as a technical writer. You would be working on a product. Suddenly, the product will lose its market. The company will decide to shelve it. So I will have to pull you out from there and move you probably into something completely different or drastic where you may not have any expertise. I can take you from an on-prem product and put you into a SaaS. But unless you have that fundamental flexibility to not crib, not complain, and then move and be willing to scale up and start things over from there, from the scratch, you're not an asset to the team or you're not an asset to the company. And if you decide to throw in the papers or throw in the towel at the flick of the moment because something like this happened, then the hiring is definitely not strategic. Similarly, financial conditions, require very, very different strategies in hiring. I may have a requirement for which I will need a very experienced percentage, but very experienced or 7, 8 years of, or 10, 12 years of experience. But I may only have the budget for a 3 to 4 years of experience. Then in that case, it becomes the responsibility of the person who's at the hiring to make a decision to find a balance. So that also counts for strategic thinking and strategic hiring. Third, flexibility and sustenance and patience. In a high boom scenario, everything is working well. You're getting all the resources that you want. You're getting all the approvals for the tools that you're thinking, all your innovations pass by. Then there will be a dull phase for every company where things will slow down, things will come into stagnation. Hiring will be, then you'll have to take on a bit of extra load. There may even be, layoffs. All these things will happen. How are you able to stick through or patiently pass by these things? So when you're looking at a potential candidate, it is also important as a hiring manager to look through a couple of these. You don't expect a 3-year experienced person to stick with your company for the next 10 years. If they stick, nothing like that, good. I also have some 10, 15-year experienced people who are a great asset to the team. But you also have such realistic expectations when you hire a person, but you also have these thoughts that you think through when you select a person for a job.
True.
On the long run, these things help.
Yeah, and when you're hiring, basically you're looking for a long runner, unless somebody is hiring because it's a serious business for candidate, but it's a serious business for managers also. They don't want to hire, hiring is a big thing.
And then there is a rich knowledge that the experienced people come up with. You should never, take that for granted. People who've been there in the company for 7, 8 years or 10 years, 15 years, which is very hard these days, but they come up with certain assets that is like, when I joined the company new and there was already a person who was there for 10 years, even though that person was reporting to me, she could just reach out to anyone and get things done for me, which I was like, who is this person? I didn't know whom to contact. So that pool also has to be respected, given its position, given its due recognition in terms of remuneration, everything, even if you're hiring or even if they're reporting to you.
Sure. And that's for the message for the writers also. Like, when we talk about a strategic hiring, like you all explained that, based on a specific requirement, you will certainly look for a specific candidate. So they're only from writer's perspective also. That's where what I will call you need to be hiring ready. Hiring ready in the sense, upskill at that level where it will match the requirement. Maybe not of all organization, but some organization. For example, some person came to me and asked that, fresher, but I want to be hired in what company? Google. My first job should be Google. I am looking only for corporates. I said, fair enough. But if you're looking for that, simply go and research what they need and prepare for yourself. Just, basic technical writing skills. And if that's not matching to their expectation, that's not going to fetch a job. So candidates also need to prepare then if they're looking for a specific role or company. Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much. I think strategic hiring probably should be clear to all, and everybody should understand why there is a specific requirement. When some companies mention mandatory requirement and optional or good to have requirement, at times companies mention in mandatory requirement also experience of working in agile, and some people make a mockery of it. Oh, what's the big deal? When you start working, then you know then you will know what's the big deal, because some of you already answered how people struggle in project management. Maybe good technical writers, but they struggle. Okay, so we will not take a break here. We will just simply continue with the third segment, shaping the future of technical writer. So now the coming to the all these challenges when we say, first thing I will like you all to tell me something about the managers. What should be the core focus of managers in taking technical writers, you can say, to the next level within companies, the perceptions and all?
First is, most of the tech writer might find themselves as introverts. So first of all, breaking that particular mold of that I am an introvert, I find it difficult to interact with others, they have to come out of that shell. So as a manager, I always push my team to go ahead and give presentations during these agile meetings, or just go ahead and train your fellow mates, or go ahead, hold meetings with the stakeholders that may or may not be related to your project. Just start opening up, start networking. The core skill of networking can be exercised properly only when you become, maybe you don't have to become someone else, but just try to push yourself, come out of that introvertedness.
At least communicate where it's mandatory.
Yes, absolutely. I am a chronic introvert, but no one will
Right.
believe that I'm an introvert when I'm at work. That's the thing.
Sreelekha, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think as managers, I would say, like, probably as Mridula rightly mentioned, that communication is important, and giving them a better forum in terms of, say, meetings and all that. Because what happens we see is when product, say, come up with a requirement. So it's mostly, okay, fine, the development is done. Now this is what documentation has to do. This is, where the technical writers have to play a role, and they just add on to the stories, and technical writers just carry on with that. But, where we can give a representation in the say of the documentation also, in terms of, like, when the development is happening. So at that time, when you are, attending the demos, if there is any UI related thing where they can contribute to, or if there is anything, if we are, they are working as, say, Docker code. So anything with the codes, if that's something that, we can actually give our suggestions or anything on that sort. So this is very important, where it gives us a visibility in the product team, compared to, like, when you're actually just being working on the task that has been assigned to you. So developing that sense of ownership in the team for the product in itself, like, that you're looking at the bigger picture, that you're working for the product, for the company as a whole, and not just working for the task that has been assigned to you, or for the feature that you've been looking at. So this is something I think it's very important to upskill in the team.
Yeah, that kind of proactive approach and getting into, I mean, if somebody likes this phrase, getting into the skin of the developers and everyone, right? Okay, so I think we had a long discussion. And so before moving on to the open Q&A session to the people, one last question, short question, just name 2 trends that technical writers you think should follow for their growth in coming years. 1 trend, 2 trends, anything.
First is
Enhance.
definitely AI.
Yeah.
Because the last 1.5, 2 years, I think we have been hearing AI in every aspect, and there is a lot that writers can leverage AI for, not just basic, improving our draft documentation and everything, but if you look into how much your organization allows AI integration, into your line of work, it all depends on that. I would say stick to that. There are pros and cons in AI where we are as of today. We have discussed that quite a bit in this early morning session. The cons being it collects a lot of data from your end, so companies are very skeptical to go ahead and incorporate any AI tool. But there is a lot that writers can still do. There is translation that we can do using AI tools. There is you can use a lot of leverage AI stuff in video creation process. You don't even have to do voiceovers. You can get that done. If you have a script ready, you can get a video ready with that. So there are a lot of
Right.
things where it will definitely reduce the time you end up doing these tasks because it does a lot of automation. So definitely, at least to start off with, don't be afraid of AI, embrace it and leverage it. The first, I think, trend is definitely going to be AI, and not just in tech writing. I think AI is part of every
Yeah,
aspect
right.
of today's life. The other one, I think, what we didn't touch till now, at least today, is we are in the business of delivering content to the customers. So look at how much customers are able to gather information from your documentation. Are you making it easy for them? Or if you are following a traditional approach, the customer has to move away from the product, open a different browser, and then look for documentation. Instead, try to give as much help that the customer might need in the product UI itself. For this, technical writers need to work with the UX teams if they already have, if not with the product teams. And these are some of the skills that technical writers, I see many of them already have it. People can, create amazing videos in a very creative fashion. They can participate in testing. They can, get themselves involved in user experience. So again, these are the different areas where you can start adding value. So when you start doing these, it's not just, the documentation is not going to be a separate aspect like product documentation support. All these things I think should, combine and give a great user experience to the customer. That is the end goal of any company. So
Right.
try to see how much you are able to give a personalized content to the customer. And I think with a lot of AI tools also included in this, companies are including a few of those functionalities and features in products where they are giving, in context from they pick up the content from documentation and try to include it in the product UI. So there's a lot that writers can work with the product teams. If it is not already being done, you can research on this and then probably suggest in your own, teams and companies and then go about. So the two things I would say is definitely AI and then content personalization maybe.
Yeah, and the content personalization, if I can just link it to a global term, design thinking.
Yes.
That design thinking, that's what other teams do. Primarily, it's popular with product management and all, but actually design thinking is very much applicable to technical writing to get
Yes.
to that level.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Sorry, Punit.
Yeah.
I just have one more point and then I'll conclude this. The other aspect is reading data. There is a lot of emphasis given on, when you gather a lot of analytics on how customers are using your product and the documentation. When you gather these data, when you have the raw data, it is very difficult for somebody to, get action items out of it. So it helps us to, gather that ability to read that data,
Right.
maybe properly. If you can convert that to probably a spreadsheet or a graph or maybe a dashboard, then, sharing that with the teams, you can definitely have action items that you can come up with for the next version that you're, doing. So I think data analytics is also one skill, which I think some of the writers already have. And if expanded, that is going to be a very nice skill to have in your kitty, because these days everything is data, and data is like the most important thing in the world today. So if you have the ability to read it, I think nothing like that. So that's all from me.
Amazing. I mean, this data analytics, I think, certainly amazing point.
Yeah,
Thank you. Sreelekha, you want to add any one trend? So we have 3-4 minutes
So
left.
again, right. So I think it's almost the same. So again, AI assistant tools, like, that is there nowadays. So this is something very important. Like, for example, now we have, say, Acrolinks that is integrated with AI. So what happens is when the writers are, checking those details, so they need to understand, like, what is the correct way that they need to actually make use of it. And for example, now if it's simple things, something like, okay, fine, active to passive, and those things, like, which are already there in the documentation and where you need to convert it. So when you need to convert passive to active, and also you need to be like, the tool will just show you information, right? Like it has not gone to that level where it has understood the whole documentation and is giving you suggestions. So you should be a subject matter expert to interpret those details and probably like, give, put it up correctly. So this is going to be very important, like understanding what all information that AI is suggesting and how to put that across for your product. I think, those are really important, including using the right terminologies and everything.
Yeah, I think how to use AI is certainly creating new job opportunities. Probably technical writers should explore that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mridula, you want to add any points?
So what I'm going to add is exclusively for the senior writers. It might not be so relevant for the junior writers, and that is product management. So having an understanding of product management also means having an understanding of the business side of our products and our tech writing, and it will help the writers understand that why they are writing what they are writing, what are the features that are coming into the picture and why they are coming into the picture, what is the business angle to it. And this will not only help them understand the core purpose of their writing, but also open the gate to explore the entire career of product management also. They can start off as a product owner. So I feel eventually, Punit, there will be a time where there will be like a mix of product owner and tech writer, because senior tech writers have, especially the staff tech writer, principal tech writers, they have such good knowledge of the product. They have such good understanding of the product, which most of the other organization might not have, So I think that line will slowly start merging between product owner and senior writers.
Certainly.
The trend
and working continuously on a product and in the same company gives that edge actually.
Oh.
Great. Dimple, you want to add something?
I completely agree with everyone here. So just want to add one thing, like sometimes, writer is strict, okay, we do not have time to attend workshops, conferences. So I really, encourage everybody or people who are not really attending. So please keep attending all the workshops because you get a lot of ideas. Like in today's session, if I talk about like TWT is offering very good platform, very good speakers coming up. So we have learned a lot like in today's session, honestly, how AI has been implemented and different tools have come in play. So people should keep looking for these type of conferences because this is actually giving them vision what's going on and they can actually shape up their learning curve accordingly.
Great. Nice suggestion. And I hope people follow it because today also I have one example. I don't know, at times I sound very grumpy old man kind of. People keep pinging me, Punit, I need help with job suggestions. I am not getting job. And at least to 12 persons today morning, I told there is this panel discussion happening. Please attend. I don't see any of those here. So we don't know what people want actually, how they want. Shanti, so you're the last one to conclude.
I'll tell you about a skill that is helping me right now. I don't code, but I find automation as one skill which is helping me a lot right now. If you can't code, for many technical writers who can't code, it basically helps to get ideas where you can use automation, especially in data extraction and manipulating data and using forms to, bring out specified kind of material. Then basic automating CI/CD processes, automating packaging processes in your documentation delivery, if any of you are handling any of those things. I think automation is a fantastic field, and you have starting from very simple JavaScripts that you can use to, automate regular day-to-day tasks, to using basic Python scripts, to adding very intelligent features to your documentation websites, adding utilities to your documentation, repository. Automation is really amazing, and basically it's just an uphill task to get approval for any AI activity in my organization with all the paranoia around the data security. So at this point, I think automation is really a fantastic alternative to continue doing the same things. Like, for example, you want to create a report to say, these were the features that were developed between this time to this time in these products. You don't need AI there. You can write a Python script to extract that information and present the report in such a fancy way using basic CSS and HTML. You just add some filters, you just add some colors, some glitz to the page, use Python to fetch that data from backend, and voila, you have a utility. You have a very customer-centric feature there. So on days when AI or spending money is not an option, these kind of poor man tools help you. And the way I contribute, because honestly, I don't know coding, is that I work till the last day to break them to logic, to chart out, this is the requirement, this is what I want to see on the screen, this is how you extract the data, now you code. So that is the part where I safely step out, not to mess things, and allow the right people to take out. I know there are fantastic technical writers who can do that also. So kudos to all those people. But automation is a fantastic area that I would urge all of you to look about, and look into it.
Great points. So thank you so much. So out of this question, we heard the name of different things that people should follow. Yes, technical writing, the basic skill you must have, but apart from that, what else you should follow? And I hope one statement which we keep on hearing about challenges from AI, all of you in the audience got to know that, okay, AI is doing some good to you, but yeah, you should know how to use it, what for to use it. Probably you will be benefiting from it rather than just getting, scared. So with this, although we are a bit late, but we will just use 5 minutes in case somebody wants to ask a question. So open to audience. Anybody wants to ask any question, you can just unmute yourself and ask. And if people are already hungry, then regarding Punit's question, I see a comment there. What are your Okay, so Vijay Lakshmi asks in the chat regarding Mike. Oh my God. Hold on. Punit's question on preference for female tech writers. I have heard that tech writer is considered more suitable for women because men are generally less interested in writing or documentation. What are your thoughts on that? On this? Okay, I will leave it you guys to take it.
Punit, I'll tell you. See, women bring in a lot of diverse talents, and we know all that. We don't have to get into that. But for diversity's sake, bring in men as well. They also offer a great perspective. So you can use them, leverage their experience. They do come with their own skill set, so definitely leverage that. But I don't think it's a woman-dominated profession anymore. It was earlier, but now I see a lot of men, in tech writing roles, and it's definitely there.
Wonderful. I hope that gives the answer. Anna has two questions, so I will ask one by one. Any of you can take. First question, at what time the ideal documentation draft should start? With Figma design or during the product QA? Okay.
With Figma design.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think with Agile, there is no way anybody is waiting until product QA. It starts with the designing. You start, the basics for your docs. Start getting ready from the designing phase itself.
The moment actually product kicks off, I think at the time it starts.
Right. From in Agile's term, what we call as a Scrum Zero. Right, from there you start.
Yeah, there was a time. There was a time when, writing used to start only after the UI is designed, but now those days are gone. And it's a good thing, a good development that tech writers and managers are involved in the entire, product development life cycle, right from scratch, which was not the scene when you and I might have started, Punit.
True. I started at the time of waterfall. That was a different.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Hi. Just
I
want
would
to
say
interrupt and elaborate.
One second. Yeah, let Sreelekha complete. Yeah, Sreelekha.
Yeah, I would say even sometimes we are also involved when the product briefing is going on. So that's even before the UI prototypes are created. So I think the significance of a technical writing team, it shows how much, it has been increased now over the years.
And basically, one thing I would say of all these points, because we keep on discussing separately also, where should technical writer or tech docs team start working? Yes, I understand still there are organizations where they are said, no, you're not required now. Come at that time, It's you who should push your way in. Okay. In a logical way, of course, don't fight, but push your way. And if you convince them properly, you will get the way. So that's a very simple thing to do.
Anna had something to ask.
Yeah. Anna,
I just want to elaborate on this question. I asked this because I worked on the last project, and the pattern is like they include us from the TRDs and PRDs phase. We know everything about the product, but they keep on changing the Figma design for the 3 months. So we keep on changing our screenshots and the whole GIFs and videos and everything.
That will happen.
So
That will happen.
Just ask this question that how can I save my time to avoid that kind of situation?
I don't
think you can.
No.
There's no way out.
Again, you have to go back to the
It is
Stone
happening
Age.
and it will happen.
The
You
only
have to go
effort you
back
can
to the Stone Age we belong to, where we used to start writing and we will get so little time to complete an entire documentation, Believe me, having to change it here and there is much better than, just being in that small time frame having to do a lot of documentation. It used to drive us mad.
I tried one formula with such, because one team I basically, despite all my knowledge, experience and all, I failed to change and it struggled a lot to work with. The same kind of situation that Anna said, they never improved. Ultimately, I wrote an email saying that, okay, whatever is the timeline, this date is the timeline till which I should get the final input. If I'm not getting input, I can't help. It will go to the next release, whether it is the next sprint or next release, whatever. And I basically CC'd my manager and whomsoever from management was actually taking care of the project. After that, yes, a bit of haggle happened, but then I got the free license to delay the information. So if it works, probably you can try, but yeah, this is a very unique situation and there will be personalized solution.
And Punit,
it will
sometimes,
work. I think that kind of putting your foot down will work. Bringing it into the process will work even more, where you, now that everything is agile, where you officially make documentation as part of the product process itself, along with the user story cutoff. You make the product cutoff, it will work. It may not work 100%, it will work at least 60%. Drama helps, but creating a bit of drama, everything helps. But at the end of the day, give a rope. Don't be so rigid that the system will break, because at the end of the day, because when you say that I won't give documentation, you're giving them a possibility of the product going without the documentation, which undermines the documentation even more. So make some drama, make some fuss, make some noise. Then chalo, is bar chhod denge. We'll give you a leeway this time. Next time, come on time.
Exactly. But at least the message is clear. Yeah, the message is clear. And so people then realize at times in one-to-one talk, the message is not clear. So we need to go beyond that. Okay,
sometimes
great.
Rapo also helps under the table connections. Many times that helps.
Yeah. So for me, this situation happened, just to take time. Same organization, other teams were working perfectly. There was this one person. Anyway, love of my life. Okay, great. Any other question? Last question, let's take and conclude. Any other question we have? I'm not seeing the chat if somebody have. Okay, for courses and all, people, please discuss in the group. I think we have those wonderful groups. You can ask for courses, any kind of course people will suggest. Anything related to leadership and hiring you want to ask? Okay, so one last question from Sanchayan. Do you feel with the increased focus on automation, AI, and fast-paced documentation, having more tech writers from a tech background will be the norm? Do you think that is going to shape how we recruit freshers today?
No, that's not going to shape how we recruit. Knowing Sanchayan, since you worked with me for some time, no, Sanchayan, that's not going to shape how we recruit freshers. The basic requirements for how we recruit anybody is going to still remain the same. Unless there is a specific requirement, unless there is a specific need for that kind of a technology to be delivered. I don't think that is going to shape. But yes, if you have clarity on what you bring to the table, and if you show the capability to bring such things, that will really help. But that, I don't think anybody will put that as the norm to say, we're not looking for a full stack developer at the end of the day. We don't want automation, AI, technical writing, documentation, coding, Python. We're not looking for full stack developers. So I don't think that is going to largely determine, but it's a competitive world at the end of the day.
I think
True.
this is the only point I'll disagree with Shanti, not because she's wrong, but because I've only look at candidates who have tech background. They could be from aeronautical engineering, they could be from an engineering college, or they could be somebody with a science background. But yes, I look for tech background because the product is extremely complex, and it might be very intimidating for those who are coming from an arts literature background.
We're not
I
disagreeing.
was-
We're on the same page on this, because if there is a requirement that demands, then yes, definitely yes.
Okay. Nice. I rarely disagree with Shanti.
No,
Usually I'm
we are
always
absolutely on the
contrary.
same page on this. I'm totally on the same page.
We will take it in the leadership group.
We agree, Punit. There is nothing to take back. I agree with Mridula.
Yeah, Dimple, you want to add something? So
No,
last
just
thoughts.
wanted to say the same thing. Even I look for technical candidates because of the complexity of the products. So because we have experimented with mass communication. So yeah, one experiment really worked well, where the candidate really outshined and grasped the technical concepts, but not the reality with all the cases. So I always look for technical expertise as well
Yeah,
because of the
I
complexity.
feel those
Great.
who do not have a technical background, content writing is a great opportunity for them. They will get a lot of opportunities.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Punit,
Malti.
sometimes when you have these open positions from within your own company, I have faced situations wherein developers from the same product or even from the support team start applying to the tech writing role, saying, I already have the product knowledge. I will be a much better technical writer. So in those cases, you have to really see what their writing skills are. So yes, tech background definitely helps. Even if they are very good with the tech background, they know the product as well. But if they don't have the writing skills, it still doesn't make the cut to become a tech writer. So that will always be there.
Sreelekha, you want to conclude?
Yeah, I think I cannot say based on academic knowledge. It's more on the technology that they are aligned with. Looks like, for example, now if they've done some courses, so even though they might be from an arts background or from not exactly from science, but then when we see the kind of trainings that they have undergone and they're understanding technology, right? So if they are able to write well, so for me, I mean, those candidates fit best even the teams and of course in the projects.
Great. So if I conclude with the 5 different answers, I hope the audience gets it very clear. And Sanchan's question is very, I will say, valid question because it always happens. And with many companies putting in JD, BTech, B, and all required, mandatory part. So it's a very valid question. Earlier, it was like any graduate. Okay. But now this is changing. But yeah, it's very clear from the answers itself. Even in companies, yes, there are some companies who need it and they have their own reasons. But then there are many companies which don't need it. Okay. They have their own way of training and all. So primarily it's a mix of both. You're talking about software, technical is required. But some company may allow you to add that technical part later, as long as you have good writing skill. But just being very good, like Malti mentioned about developer turning to this, just being highly technical and not knowing much of writing won't help. So yeah, it should be a mix. I hope that's the conclusion. And so that's where we conclude. And thank you so much again, Sreelekha, Malti, Mridula, Dimple, and Shanti. We got delayed, but still, thanks a lot for all your insights. And thank you, audience, for sticking around so late. It's lunchtime and we should be having party time. And I will hand over to Suparna. Suparna and Ruchi have done a great job in organizing all this. So yes, Team Gujarat rocks. Suparna, over to you.
Yeah, it was great questions, I have to say. Very good questions.
Thank you so very much. I would say this session, the panel discussion was truly engaging and interesting. I personally took back a lot of insights, and I know what I have to work on now. And I think the audience would equally feel the same way, I guess. So thank you once again. I extend my heartfelt thank you to all the speakers, panelists, and audience for participating in this event and making it a success. And also, like Punit mentioned, a special thank you to the organizing team, because